anyways, I think we should get going. So I am just so excited to welcome one of the absolute biggest influences in my life, not just as a violinist, but also as a human, to the great David Solness, that I worked with for many years at University of Maryland. Fantastic school, and fantastic teacher, fantastic human being. And those of you who know that was signed up last year for our chamber music workshop, we would have seen him in person, and lo and behold, had we known 4 months ago how the restrictions would have turned out, we could just probably have done what we had planned out to do this summer. But it will happen, a personal visit at some point. So I am, though, really excited that this week we have, with this online format, been able to invite not just you, David, but also a few other people that I have tremendous respect for and have worked with. So I think in some ways there's a little bit of a silver lining to this format. So I don't want to be talking too much because it's all about you guys playing and get the opportunity to play. So let's get going. But welcome, David, and
Thank you.
I will try to keep this on time. So 20 minutes. I'll give you a 20 minutes. I'll give you a 5-minute warning.
Can I just say briefly that I'm really thrilled that you put this together. It seems like just a fantastic week. I so wish I was there with you in person, but I think that this format really allows us to deal with certain issues in a way that are not available to us in person. And I can talk a little bit about that more later, and I'm sure all of you have discovered some of that this year. But I'm thrilled to be with you, and look forward to hearing you play. I heard a few of you yesterday, and that was super fun. I was in the kitchen doing some puttering around and really enjoying that. But I'm glad to be with you here today, all in.
Great. So let's welcome Mia to play the Brook, and then we'll just roll from there. Okay.
Well, I'm just delighted to hear you. And somebody moved the camera angle a little bit in so I could actually see all of your playing, so that was good. I, I'm trying to think. I want to tell everybody in the room that I'm trying to do this class a little bit for everybody in the room and not just you. You're sort of the surrogate for everybody. And I think everybody can learn from this. And I also want to make sure that you all have questions for me at the end. You have the entire class to crystallize and formulate your questions, because I look forward to that. One thing, building on what Vadim's class yesterday, he was talking about the Sibelius and how certain kind of performance things happen with a piece. And I feel like almost it's like you buy a house and they say, what conveys with the house? The washer and dryer comes with the house, like what conveys with the piece. I think a lot of the things we do today, we don't even know it probably convey from Joseph Joachim, the first performance. I just feel like there's like this strand of DNA that goes back to the beginning. What happens over time, though, is it maybe gets distorted a little bit, like each generation, if they do it a little faster, then the next generation does it faster still, or something like that. So I think you have to constantly go back to looking at the text that you have and seeing what you see in front of you and what that makes sense to you, just here and now, making it relevant today. I so much like the fact that I do see you're using a lot of Joachim's bowings, which, do you know kind of the Galamian take on this at all?
I do not.
Okay, well, can I send you to a website? One of my colleagues, Bruce Berg, at Baylor, has like 4 violin concertos fingered kind of a la Galamian delay. I think he says Gingle, but I think it's more Galamian and delay, right? But you can see what they taught their students. Or better yet, just watch Itzhak Perlman on YouTube. He does absolutely every single marking exactly the same as he did when he studied it with Mr. Galamian when he was a kid. So if you want to see what he said. Now, I'm not suggesting you do that. What I am suggesting is that you see why they did what they did, and maybe you want to incorporate some of that. I think you're struggling a little bit against the physics of the violin, where you could use the physics for you. My feeling is we have enough to struggle with. Let's not struggle with the physics of it. So one thing that's occurred to me recently in the opening, and I wish I had known this when I studied this piece when I was younger, that opening cadenza, if it had a meter, what would it be? I don't know if anybody else in the room has their scores of this, but I mean, you have one in front of you.
In 4 for the meter?
Yeah.
Yeah, wait.
And you have to look past the first half note with the fermata and maybe go to the second downbeat. Where's the second downbeat?
On the... Oh.
Never thought about this, did you?
No.
So this is... That's the next downbeat. That's a downbeat. I mean, there's no bar line, but it's the downbeat. So the first G is just turning it into kind of a 5, 4, and then 2, 3, 4 bars. And if you notice in the return of it, he sticks a 5 in the middle to elongate him to get him to the second octave. Can you try just playing the opening, thinking of it in a very, very broad meter like that, and free? okay. Does that change your world at all? Does that change your...
It is a little different, yeah.
I think it gives it some form.
Yeah.
And I think that improvisation, we tend to think that it has no form. I don't believe that. I think improvisation has a logic to it. So now we can talk about what I would change about what you just did with the meter, which is I felt like you got stuck at the second level. You did sort of at the second level what you had done at the first level. Do you know what I mean? Then you got stuck. I'm exaggerating, right? Like you can't wait to get there.
Okay.
Unless you disagree with me. But I mean, to me, I don't think you should do the same thing in each of the octaves.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to try that? Just don't feel like you can rest on the downbeat of the second bar. Feel like there's an urgency there. Now, I probably think in the hall people felt that it was a more connected through kind of statement and had a trajectory. I use the word trajectory a lot in my teaching because I feel like so much of music that's not working is static, is not doing something. Music's always doing something, and that's the weird thing about practicing. We work for years to be steady and even and control that, and then as one of my teachers said at one point, now forget that you ever learned that. Nothing really is even anymore, right? Well, there's exceptions, of course, Shostakovich Quartet, Bleak Long Line, And so the same thing in the second. You want to try the second cadenza with that same kind of idea of where the downbeat is and where the third beats are.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that felt only subtly different to you, but it felt different to me on this end. I still feel like you get a little caught in the eighth note steadiness of that. Like if he had wanted you to make an accelerando, or if he had wanted you to move through a phrase, how could he have written that in his language? I always ask myself that question. Is there a way a composer could tell me better than what they told me to do in their time period? And the answer is really no in this time period. So moving to the third beat to the downbeat is something to think about. I don't know. I think the business we're all in is about noticing these details and small things that matter. Maybe audiences don't necessarily pick up on all of this, but you know what they pick up on? It makes sense and I like it. That's what they pick up on. But we know why they like it, and they don't necessarily even know why they like it. Good. Now you went on and you started, Galamian would start this next Allegro section down bow. Why do you think he would? It's definitely pickup music. There's no question about it. Just start it down bow once. Now do it up bow. Do it up bow. Now, I think you could practice the benefits of doing it down bow and then see if you can get that same kind of energy. Why is down bow a little bit preferable in some ways?
It's just a lot easier to come in strong, I feel like.
It's a stronger part of the bow. I also thought it gave you more confidence.
Yeah.
Right? So I think you can work on getting more confidence coming at the tip. I mean, I just told Professor Borup that I was just at the gym this afternoon. I'm still kind of in that after gym thing. And oh my gosh, some of the exercises you're doing there are really meant to get a nice, So that's like back power. Here is just dumb weight. I mean, in a good way, dumb weight, right? And so I think you could learn to train your ear to expect that kind of explosiveness on it, because it should be. Don't you think it should be kind of an explosive? I mean, I remember hearing that. I come in at bum, 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 bum. It's just like, oh my God, this is like the most exciting thing ever, when I played this piece. This is why I think people think of it as wrongly as a student piece. I think the reason is because the raw energy of the piece translates even if everything isn't tidy. it still works, right? Which is kind of fun, in all of this. And this one I find the most difficult of all. You know, that up Glamian does, you know, going back to Mr. Rapin's, Guzman's idea of at the frog, not in Bach. Here's where that kind of blocked chord really is very powerful and explosive. But I think it can work on an up bow very nicely. How are you going to find this up? How are you going to find that? I know you're scared of it right now. Do you play with a shoulder? You play with a shoulder rest, right?
I play with.
Oh, a good pillow. I got nothing on mine, but I like your pillow. So I think something that's really been important to me recently is for my students is thinking about the violin being a part of your body, not like this thing that you put in and you kind of play on, but it's just like part of you. So how would you find that? How would you find that if you were like, you see, I'm exaggerating this, like, ooh. Like, how would you find it if it's part of your body? Just play it.
Just like know where it is.
Yeah, but just feel it. Just feel it, kind of. Try it. Play it. Try it on a down, for the sake of it, try it on a down bow just so your hands are close to your body. Now take your hands away. Take your hands away. And then find it. That's okay. That's okay. I love misses. Why do I love misses?
Because we learn from them.
There's so much information there, right?
Yeah.
We are so scared to make a mistake that, have you ever seen, I'm sure some of you do it, like they're, and they go, and it's out of tune afterwards, right? They do all of that preparation. It's always more in tune if you don't check, or you miss it, but you'll get good at it. Can you just kind of drop your fingers, like leave them above the string and just drop them down so you get the feel of it? Lift up your fingers, relax them, and then drop them. Just 1, 3. They're closer than you think. Higher first finger. Yeah. Now, you know something? I will start to bet on you now. I'll start to give you higher odds at the Kentucky Derby. Because what you're doing is if you find things with a more supple, how shall I say, casual, unjudgmental hand, the better chance you have of getting it under stress. The more you kind of get hard and kind of, come on, the less dependable it is, because your body doesn't want to remember something that's traumatic. It wants to remember something friendly. And, you know, it really is true, I found. So thank you. I'd really like you to kind of get over this fear of finding things. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with has to do with your double stops, but every note. I've been doing a lot of perfect fifth playing this pandemic. My students have gotten really good at perfect fifths, as have I. And it's the best way to get your finger oriented to how it should be on a single string. So what you're going to find is if you practice some fifths, the key to fifths is not pressing your finger down too much, kind of resting it between the string, allowing the excess sides of your finger to just kind of fall down lightly on the string. Don't squeeze. We always squeeze because we really want it to be in tune and we're freaked out. And that's when it doesn't work. We drive it out of tune. It doesn't have a chance. So you can start to get good. See, I probably will demonstrate, it won't be good. So, and then when you start to then play a double stop. So let's pick one example. Can you just play that chord there? So what I want you to do is I want you to think of hanging your hand on the violin, making your fingers as relaxed and fleshy as possible. Next, good. Do you hear the tone difference?
Yeah.
Next chord, same thing, no squeezing. Next chord. No, so I feel like there's a little tension between the first and second finger. Relax your first and second finger. Okay, do you hear the difference?
Yeah.
Does it feel more stable to you?
Yes, it does.
Does it feel less treacherous?
Yes.
So you get where I'm talking about. You can do this even at the top of the next page, the melody. Can you try just a little bit of that next melody, and we'll stop there. And try to think as if you're playing double stops or fifths. So your third finger is as wide and flat as you can make it. By the way, I love your lyrical soul. That really came through. I think it's the more boisterous technical parts where you tend to, well, you tell me what you tend to do.
Say that again.
Oh, okay. On technical parts, I tend to just like think about that, and I kind of like, I feel like I lose the feeling, and I get like stumble over myself maybe.
Yeah, maybe you could think about some of those technical passages as more like tunes. They're not technical passages, like these octaves. It's just a pretty tune. I mean, it's just a pretty tune. It's not an octave passage. Oh my God. So you could practice fingers separately and just feel like this flat fleshiness of your fingers. Does that work for you? Flat? How did that feeling when your finger was on the string, how would you describe it? It was better.
Yeah, it was better. It felt like loose, calmer.
Calmer.
Yeah, just like easier. I
Yeah.
felt like vibrato was also easier.
Yeah. Okay, I really enjoyed hearing you play. Thank you so much for being such a great sport in all of this. I had a really good time. Thanks. Hello, Tara.
Hello,
Is it Tara or Tara?
Tara.
Okay. I have a Tara, which is one of my best friends, so I'll try to get it right, but
Cool.
look forward to hearing you.
Yeah, like terracotta. Yeah. Okay.
I'm waiting my requisite 5 seconds to talk. They told me to pause after your performance.
Oh,
But
okay.
also gives me a little bit of a chance. If you see that I'm not looking into my monitor at your playing because the playing is the visual's a little off sync with the sound, so it's easier for me to focus on the sound.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But so other people in the room might think I'm bored and like not listening, but I am. So this is such a short movement, right?
Yeah.
Relatively brief, and it's amazing how many things or details and beautiful things are in it. How many of these sonatas and partitas are you very familiar with? I don't mean that you've necessarily played them or practiced them, but that you just
so-
are familiar with.
Yeah, so I say, like, I'm suffering through the fugue right now, and then I've played the Chaconne, and I've played all of the E major partita, and then like bits and pieces of the other ones.
So one thing that I think is just super remarkable about this set of pieces is I'm very convinced that Bach was influenced by other people in the writing of these, but of course it seemed like Bach what he would do is sorry. It seems like what Bach would always do is perfect what everybody else was like messing around with. He would pull all of these ideas together and then kind of make the definition of it for other people going forward. So what is special about this movement compared to any other movement? I mean, if you don't know, then what do you think is just kind of what makes this movement stand out from any other movement in this collection of? And maybe you don't think there is much. Is this a dance?
No.
Not. Yeah. If you had said it was, I would say, sure, it lilts, and I would agree with you. But it's not really a dance. It's solely a song.
Right.
And you can even tell by going back to Vadim's idea about the stemming. If you notice that only notes on the top have a stem going up and all the other notes have stems going down.
Yeah.
I think that's just to let you know that that's just the tune.
Yeah.
So this is, some might say the A minor on Dante is also kind of a song. It's a weird song if it's a song. It's tuneful, but I think this is really a song in a kind of a very sweet way. It's not a dance, but yet it has rhythmic energy. And so what I want to talk a little bit about, and this is for everybody in the room, when you're looking at a Bach movement, it doesn't matter if it's constant, a gigue, constant 16th notes. Always look to the slurring to find the rhythm. So in this case, what I would suggest that you do is even on an open A string, can you just do that? Just kind of in the speed that you want, in the character that you want, but just an open A string. No, it would be on the last two notes, right? It's eighth notes.
Yes. Yeah.
So what would you change about that to make it more beautiful, just that A string and the shape of that? You want to do it again and think about
yeah.
that? Beautiful. I did think that was a lot better. So I think what you did was you hovered a little bit. But what maybe you missed was, I think Bach sometimes wants energy in the bowing. Even though it's subtle and gentle, it's still energy. That's why I love Mr. Gleinman. He was a great teacher of mine. I like his fingerings in the fugues much more than I like his bowings in the rest of the pieces, because he tried to take out all unevennesses. And how about if Bach wanted it uneven? And I think he did. So, and then the next opportunity I thought you missed was, did you see how I led that last eighth note of the bar into the downbeat? You want to try that once again? You seem scared of the up down. Can you just play through it, up down? Now play all the notes.
I'm
So anything you noticed that was maybe a little too fast, your A string exercise, but did you notice anything that was interesting about that? I always ask my students to try to just notice. You don't have to be judgmental. You don't have to say, I hate it, I love it, it's the best thing ever. Just notice things.
Maybe there's just more direction. It's just following the line more, I think.
But in a natural way.
Yeah.
Unfussy, as I like to say, unfussy. Then going on to the next thing is the answer. So maybe that's a little bit darker and more resigned. Do you want to try that on an A string, but a little more darker and a little more resigned? Yeah, you really went with it that time, the direction. That was great. Why the hooked bowing there? Down, up, up. I'm not against it. I
don't know,
learned it
guess
that way
just
too.
Felt like it set me up better for the double stop.
So you want to be nearer the frog when you're done with your 3/16 notes, right?
Yeah.
And he helped you get you there.
Yeah.
What other way could you get there?
Starting up,
Starting up and doing what? Where in the bow?
down, up. in
Yeah,
the
but
lower.
lower in the bow. Just do it there from. So, is a frog a place you spend much time in your life on the violin?
Yeah,
you
I
do?
would say so.
Your
Yes.
shoulder doesn't look totally comfortable getting there, though. Can you try something once? Go past, and then go past. Just like take the bow off. Bravo. Now play it as regular, but have that feeling. Now, maybe that's a subtle difference to you, but our business is about subtleties. Intonation perfection, sound shaping. Tell me how you would say, how could you get better to the frog? Rather than doing Glamian's bowing or who's ever bowing that. Glamian does that bowing. For the reasons you said, to get to the frog.
Yeah.
How did you do it just now?
Well, I was already kind of in that part of the bow, but then, I was already in the lower half, and then the up bow just got me right there.
You were not only in the lower half of the bow, closer to the frog, but you were also more comfortable moving in that part of the bow. Do you see? We tend to go away from things that make us uncomfortable. So you have to kind of find a way to be uncomfortable in your discomfort, if that makes any sense at all. Like, sit in your discomfort, and own it and make, okay. So terrific. So that's what I would suggest that you do with this, is go through the whole piece with the bowings. Can we start at this phrase? Bar 4. So can you just do the upper line once? So isn't it? Less. More. Doesn't that work that way? Try it.
Yeah.
I hear your fourth note being longer and sounding stronger. Less bow, not more bow.
That's on the fourth one. Okay.
Yeah. Now you have to admit that sounds better, don't you think? The shaping of it. I'm just like talking about if you were to just sing that. Can you try playing it with the other part now and let the upper part rule? So your bowing right now is kind of messing with it a little bit because you're doing the hooky thing, right? But try to see if just hearing that's going to help the passage.
Okay.
So what's hard about that bowing and to get the feel you want that I'm after anyway? You're on the strongest beat on which bow direction?
I'm sorry, say again. I'm what?
You're on the strongest beat, which is the down beat,
Yeah.
and you're on a which bow direction?
Well, I'm on the down bow on the strongest.
No, you're on an up
Up,
bow.
up, down.
You're on an up bow. Try it again.
Up, okay. Okay.
So what's another bowing?
I mean, I could do it separate or I could reverse it.
Yeah, try reversing it. Hey, do you know that really already helps you? I mean, I don't know exactly why you would do it the other way. I mean, if you think about it, because it just makes it harder to do. So it's not like there's one bowing. There's so many different choices. I've worked a lot, and Haas has worked with him. Kenneth Slowick in Washington D.C., who's a historically informed master in performance, and he always describes in the Baroque period where they say down bows are the good bows and up bows are the bad bows. It seems pretty harsh and judgmental to me. But the idea is that the main notes, the important notes, should fall on down bows whenever possible. And the weaker leading notes, whenever possible, should be on the up bow. And it makes sense. So I wouldn't get too clever by half. I don't know if you know that expression. Sometimes I think we're too clever by half. It means that we're more clever than we need to be. We make it more complicated than it could be. Something to think about.
Yeah.
One last thing I want to say, because I bet we're coming up to it. Have you done a kind of a harmonic analysis of this? Do you know where the piece is going and what's unique about it? So I gave you a couple practical things. I'm recircling back. Number one, use the bowings to find the shaping of your rhythmic trajectory. One. Number two, isolate a line, make sense of it, and then put the counterpoint with it. You could have done the lower line first, but I thought it made more sense to just start with the upper line there. So teasing lines apart and making sense of them in and of themselves. These are not harmonies so much as they're contrapuntal things that go on in a lot of Bach and the fugues and other things, right? So harmonic analysis, I don't know how much, Schenkerian analysis that you've done, but just, pitch heights matter. This is a song, but what key area is the first, where's your first cadence? We're in F major, the sunny, happy key of F major. Nice after lunch key, I think. Bar 8, we go to what?
Bar 8, we go to C, back to C, or 2C.
2C major.
Yep.
Right. And so, and then you're going to notice that you get, then you played this exactly the same instead of. Isn't that more introverted? Just the nature of those chords. So what you do is you draw a beautifully singing, lyrical, pure sound. I love that about your playing. I think the trick now is to modulate that beautiful sound that you're making to reflect what's going on in the extroverted chords, the introverted chords, there's some turbulent places in this. And where does the piece end? This is a trick question. I'm already telling you it's a trick question, and you probably already know the answer.
Measure 17.
No, not my edition. It's not 17.
On the F.
That's bar 18 for mine.
Okay, that's bar
so
17
weird.
for me. Well,
Okay.
the downbeat of 18, I guess.
Yeah, the downbeat of 18. The cadence is downbeat of 18. So what's the rest of the movement?
It's for fun.
Oh,
I
Hey.
don't know. It's like it's just like decoration. It's like
anytime somebody says fun to me in a lesson situation, I am all there. If it's not fun, we're not working this violin, we're playing this violin. And so I'm tired of the working part of it. So I think this is also a time where rhythm can be more suspended and more free. And I think you can, the weird thing about this little tag is he doesn't just kind of finish it off in sort of frothiness that he's done in some other of his movements. He gets to really a super dramatic place, like it's totally unexpected. And I find that is in such a peaceful little movement. He does this really, oh my God, where is that from? And I think it should be shocking in a way. It doesn't have to be ugly. It doesn't have to be loud necessarily, although I don't know how you play that soft and really get the impact there. And then after that, the slap in the face or that, this bracing cold water in the face that he gives you, your idea is then to settle it down. I love the way you did that one bow of the little, melisma going up. I liked your bowing into the last bar on the downbeat. I think it's beautiful. Very good choices. You did really smart choices. And I think a lot of times you look in the Bach manuscript and you'll notice that you can't tell where the slur goes to. And I think a lot of times editors say, oh, he meant to do the downbeat along with the rest of it. And sometimes I think if a downbeat is not, and it's the rest that are under one slur, right? So anyway, I think you've done some really terrific work on this. Do you have any questions about anything that I've said? Like, what doesn't make sense or what seems different than what you're thinking about doing?
I mean, I guess like the arc of the piece, I'm kind of trying to get to the downbeat of like of 13.
Which is what key?
G major,
Really?
isn't it? G? It's a
Sounds like we've all of a sudden gone to like an organ piece by Bach, like a cathedral.
yeah.
G minor.
Well, so would you say that like that's where the arc, the overall arc of the piece is?
I would buy that. Sure. I think it can be. I think if that's the way you make it, and so what kind of character does that have then? My question would be, okay, this is where you're headed in the movement, and where have you gotten? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
What kind of words would you use? Words
I
are
don't-
very
like
important.
so I feel like this movement is kind of hopeful, and like in like that arc there's kind of like a yearning maybe.
Yeah.
That's what the word I would use.
Maybe a little bit of desperation even, if you can sell it. and so that's the kind of thing that and then it's really all of that, then the F going down, then the E going down. We don't have time to go through all the baseline pitch things. You can follow it. Follow the baseline will give you a lot of information. But I would say the word that comes to mind for me is dramatic. I wouldn't say the opening of this movement is dramatic to me. I would say it's peaceful. It's almost bucolic, countryside, F major Beethoven symphony. There's something about F major that is, I don't know, easygoing and well adjusted. I don't know. G minor, whoa, not so much. And it's a step away from F, right? So that's a pretty distant relationship. The
Yeah.
closer it is, the farther away it is, right? So
Sure. Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I think the question is how you get down off the top of that mountain. That's the question artistically that you need to deal with. Do you feel like you have enough variety in this movement? Variety of sound, variety of feeling of.
I don't know. I feel like executing it is a different matter. I feel like I have a really good idea of what needs to happen, but playing it is like so
Sure.
different,
Sure. Well, this is why people work on Bach their entire life, right?
Yeah.
And they keep changing their mind. I was going to tell you all, because for whatever reason, I got 3 Bachs today. I feel like I hit the jackpot, or I don't know. I didn't get the booby prize. I think I got a really good thing. But I just think there's so many ways of doing this. And what's interesting as an artist is that you change over your lifetime the way you look at things. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's a really, really good thing, and you will too. You just are in a better age to have better information than we did when we were your age. So that's the good part of it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed hearing you. I think we probably should move on, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hey, Ethan. Can you hear me, Ethan?
Yeah, I can.
Well, it's nice to see you. I look forward to hearing you.
Thank you.
As we say in my string quartet, yay you. We say yay us. You have beautiful teeth. You know, you have your hands are really well suited and well trained for playing the violin. Congratulations
Thank you.
to you and your teachers, whoever they are. Um, what I would think to offer, you know, Zoom is really interesting for instruction. Can I just share with you all what I found this year in Zoom teaching? Which is that really the only things that really I feel we can make a lot of progress on are the really big things, interpretive, like big ideas we can really move a lot on. And then really small details like how does your pinky on the bow and what's it doing, like really microscopic things. It's all that middle ground that's really hard to cover. So I did that with my students. They all got bow technique from Shevchik Opus 3, really worked through that. We got that really so the technique got refined. And then interpretive ideas, how to go about interpreting something, how to make your own mark, how to listen better. That's been the big plus of Zoom. You guys have all been listening better. Like, I'll be teaching, I'll say, what do you hear in the room? And you're like, I hear this. And I'm like, I've been wanting that all along, but when I'm in the room, maybe you rely too much on your teacher's ears and not your own, maybe. So I think that's been a really beneficial thing in all of this. One thing that I would love to work with, it might not have anything to do with Bach. Is that okay if I work just on one little thing and give you something to play with? It has to do with your vibrato. And in that regard, I feel a bit like you have like a kind of a slow arm vibrato. You want to talk to me a little bit about how you think about vibrato or how you've gone about studying that?
When I learned it, my teacher only knew how to teach wrist vibrato, and it never ever worked for me, and I just learned arm vibrato even though she tried really hard to teach me wrist vibrato. So I didn't get very much instruction on how to do arm vibrato until probably 5 or 6 years after I learned it. And at that point it was pretty set. So I have like a weird, not very taught arm vibrato that I've just sort of gone with. And I do like exercises and stuff for consistency and like bringing out different expressions, but I've never actually had very specific technical coaching about arm vibrato.
Can we just talk a little bit about that? Because I can, you know, I'll tell you about good notes and or good bows and bad bows. But I was going to say one thing that I would add to what Vadim said yesterday in this G minor. Who was it that I heard? I heard Maddie, and that was really, I really enjoyed that. What I would say is down bows are longer and held, and up bows move like crazy. And down bows are held, and up bows move like crazy. And so I think we first learned this, we turn a metronome on because we have to figure out all of these 32nd and 64th note values. And oh my God, it's a minefield a little bit to figure that out. But I think in general, when we get past that point of understanding that, that's the way the piece can move faster. And you can get these 4 chords of the first phrase, is if the up bows really move to the next thing. If you take a lot of time on the up bows, it's not unlike the Bruch concerto that we had at the beginning of class, where we got stuck when we're supposed to be moving, and then you can sit where you're supposed to sit. So let's talk a little bit about vibrato, which is, I'm a firm believer that there are a lot of solutions to vibrato. I do think the most versatile vibrato, versatile, meaning most speeds, most widths, most options, is the finger vibrato. Second is wrist. Third is arm. I'm talking about versatility. I'm not talking, because there are some people that have strictly arm vibratos and it's very beautiful and very expressive. But a lot of times, if you notice, there's not a whole lot of different kinds of colors they make. They make certain colors, and it's a, you know, it's like tennis. You have a certain kind of stroke and you can do these things really, really well. But to be versatile, I think, I mean, I always ask the question, what makes the vibrato? And people say the arm, the wrist. It's the fingertip that makes the vibrato. Is it not?
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what else is moving. I mean, you can shake your leg. It's the fingertip. So can we, how about if we just pick a second finger? How about on the E string? Just on a G. And don't vibrate. Just get your hand open and loose. And try, part of the reason I think you're using an arm vibrato is because you're holding your violin with your shoulder and head. Can you not? Can you have your head up? Now vibrate without your head. So did that feel a little uncomfortable to you?
Yeah.
Did you notice anything positive though?
I feel like I'm more flexible with my wrist when I do that.
Yes, exactly. So now I want you to do little bursts. I want you to do little bursts, like little bubbles of energy, like almost like you like if you like go on a carpet and you build up static electricity and then you get a shock. But I want the shock to come from the fingertip and have nothing to do with the arm. I don't want you to use your forearm. I don't want you. Most people start their vibrato, by the way, from their bicep, if you believe it or not. It is. It's from the bicep. I've been really into how the body is used. Try to feel like it's in your fingertip, like there's just like a little shock in your finger, and you can just do it and kind of stop, you know. So I can tell you right away, I like that vibrato better than what you normally do. Why do I like it? It's not just that it's a little faster, because it is faster. It has a roundness to it and a center. Vibrato needs to be a center. Some people say, well, vibrato shouldn't be wide because it won't have. I've heard some of the people with the widest vibratos in the world, and it has a center. And I've heard people with narrow vibratos, and it doesn't have narrow vibratos, and it doesn't have a center. So I think this fingertip is anything you like that you're hearing.
Yeah.
You're not the most expressive. You're not the most expressive person, but I think you're hearing it.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
Different, good.
Yeah, different, good.
Okay. So now try. So when you drop a finger, try that. When you drop a finger, let it kind of explode from your fingertip and not your arm. Don't hold your violin with your head or shoulder if you can. You're not shifting. Try that. When your first finger lands, it has that little electric thing. What are you noticing?
I feel less connected to the fingerboard in my hand. I feel like that's sort of come from doing arm vibrato, is it doesn't move your wrist very much, so you feel very stable in comparison to the fingerboard, and this is much less so.
It's interesting that you put it that way, because most people, I think, describe it quite the opposite. In fact, when you're holding the violin with your head and using arm vibrato, it's like you're doing this arm thing on, like on this thing. But when you take it away, your hand is attached because it really is, because when you're not holding it, your hand is holding it up. But I think maybe what you're also sensing is just kind of a freedom in your hand that's a little different. Is that a fair statement?
I think so. I think it's almost unnerving.
Yes.
Because it feels like it doesn't feel as concretely, like it feels like it'd be harder to find positions and things like that because my hand doesn't feel.
Okay, you are right on the precipice of a very important point of studying the violin. The things that are most scary and that are most movable and dynamic are the best ones and the scariest ones and work the best. The ones that make us feel more stable, in fact, are not stable because they don't really succeed in doing what we want them to do. They make us feel like, okay, I know how this thing works. So really what I think studying your instrument is about is being able to change everything as you're playing, not to do it again and again with more repetitions, making it the same way better. Make different ways better. That's what makes that, let's say you have an ideal interpretation. Playing that ideal interpretation over and over again to codify it, to drill it in, is not the best way to get it to work on stage. The best way to get your one ideal interpretation to work is to do other interpretations so that you can feel flexible dealing with, in the moment, things not going the way you would like them to go. I mean, don't you have good days and bad days, or like you get caught in something that you didn't see coming? The whole point is getting out of it. So I think what you should do, my suggestion, because your hands are beautiful, your bow arm, your bow wrist and everything, your shoulder's a little high, but you can work on that. I think your shoulder's high because this other shoulder's high holding the violin, but we don't have to get into that. I'm not against shoulder rests on the back. I'm not against them. I'm against using them to hold up the violin. Do you see the difference? What are they in my book? If they're not holding up the violin, what are they doing?
They're just a rest.
They're a space filler. You could have a higher, chin rest. You could have it on the back. You could have it on the top. You could, whatever. And I think this is, again, where we can learn from those who play historically informed with no shoulder rest and no chin rest, some of them, for God's sake. I had a teacher who took off my chin rest for a month and a half and the shoulder rest. I was just so happy to have a chin rest back. I never looked back. I didn't need a shoulder rest. So I think your vibrato is very tied into the way you're holding your instrument. Can I just say that? And I think you need to experiment being uncomfortable, feeling unstable, then asking yourself the question, I feel more unstable, but do I sound more unstable? And the answer usually is, no, it actually sounds pretty good. I just really feel unstable. Do you see the difference? So we conflate, we confuse the feeling that we're having with the reality that the sound is better. It's an uncomfortable feeling you have to work through. So I would suggest this for you, and I think we can play some of this Bach now, and I think it's already going to be better. It's going to help your double stops. Can we do it from after the first big cadence? Okay, good. I have a question. Did that feel at all any different, just that little work we did? You're going a little bit back to your vibrato slow thing, but it's different too.
Well, it feels different, but I'm also, like, with a lot of the chords, it's easy to, like, squeeze really hard and it, like, undoes it all, but.
So, can we just do that? And you don't have to go on, just do that little bit. And just relax your hand. When you do the trill, your thumb and your left hand tightens up. That was better. Did you feel the difference in your hand? Mm-hmm. Okay. So then you have to do, what do you have to do to go with this next chord? What do you have to do mechanically?
Drop your one and place your other two fingers.
So try. Have your third finger above the string as you're playing the B flat, and then just move your one. Now, wasn't that better balanced and better centered? Okay?
Yes.
It sure was. Big time. By the way, that's the chord where I've heard more people at college auditions mess up because it's just so that's actually one of the most complicated things to do in the movement, is that very maneuver, right? The question we need to ask ourselves, all of this Bach that we're doing today, why does it find itself on every college audition? Why does it find itself on some orchestral auditions or orchestral positions? Some orchestras have you play a movement of solo Bach. Why is it there? Do you have any idea?
I think because to play Bach well, you have to make it sound easy, and it's never easy. And if you can make it sound easy, then you know the instrument well enough, you know your own technique well enough, and you know that's something you'd want to look for in a good violinist.
That's very well put. I would also say that it really, for me, when people say, what style do you teach or what style do you want your students to play Bach in? I have a student coming from the historic Juilliard program next year coming, and she's all like Baroque bow and totally doing this cool thing. And then I have other people that are doing it in more of a hybrid fashion. Very few of them are doing it in the old romantic tradition, which I learned. But frankly, in the chaconne, there's moments where I just like the old-fashioned romantic way. I mean, if this was on organ in a cathedral in Europe, oh my God, the pedal would be down and the pillars would be shaking. And frankly, I'd like that in my chaconne at certain points. I want the pillars to shake. I don't want to like back off of that. But that's me, right? We all do it differently. But the things that I think are required of good Bach is it needs to be logical. It needs to be coherent. It needs to be creative. And it needs to, what's the last one? Expressive. That's the big one, the expressive part. So if it has logic, right, that it makes that coherence, we can follow what you're doing, right? And creativity. Why is creativity important? Because these notes it's a single violin doing this thing, right? And you have to make more different colors and more different sounds and put notes into space differently. And it needs to be expressive. It needs to reach the soul. That's the cool thing about Bach is it satisfies the mind and the heart. And it also exposes all of our technical issues. That's the, it really exposes everything. We're just naked there. This is us as a violinist. And we shouldn't be scared of that, but we should be aware that all of these things matter. So that chord right there that you did really well took you focusing on getting your hand in the right position to do a maneuver very quickly and get it in tune. Okay? Where would you like the fastest vibrato in this movement? Let's do that, and then maybe I don't know how we're doing. Where's the most intense place for you?
I think the diminished chord at the beginning of 13.
Yeah, for sure. What chord would that have been if it weren't that diminished chord?
It would be an E flat. Yeah, I think it would be E flat to resolve.
Hey, I'm impressed with your answer. I'm impressed you knew that. Good for you. And so it should be bracing when you hit there. But it's also a double stop, and I sometimes if you vibrate on a very stark, you know what stark, a very intense double stop, you kind of dilute the double stop. So I'm not sure, but let's try that. Let's try that with a little vibrato. Just that chord. What's all the cheating about? No cheating. Just don't find every note. Play. Drop all three together, just from the air. Drop all three. So you found some good information from that. What did you find? It had to do with your second finger. Did you notice? You moved it. Try it again. Drop all three fingers and play. Whatever comes out.
Yeah, okay.
Again? Yeah. Do it again. Do this. Drop all three and then do that. These flats. I'm trying to get that feeling in your left hand, the bouncing bow. Can you get that bouncy feeling in your left hand? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you do a fancy bowing here. I'm sorry. I sometimes use the bowing skipping lightly on the string to make my left hand feel different, like kind of jumpier and lighter instead of like ground into the fingerboard. Now let's try for vibrato. So, just the second finger. So, would you have trouble if this were an F sharp instead of a G flat, finding it?
I think the thing that makes it hard to find is the stretch. And so, like, it depends on what note
Can you start with the second finger as the center, as the comfy finger, and then make the first finger do what it has to do, and the third finger has to do what it has to do?
I can, but when I'm playing it, it anchors from the third finger, because you have a E flat. So, like, I practice anchoring from the third, and then if I
Can
was,
you morph in your mind in that moment where you shift from your third finger, even though it stays, to like moving it to the second finger? The balance?
yeah, I can try.
Yeah. Start from the note before. Okay?
Yeah.
You see what
feels
I'm
better.
doing?
Yeah.
You were doing the chord before, but you looked very out of balance when you did it. Now, can we get a faster vibrato on the second finger? Just a little burst. Stop. You know where I feel your vibrato coming a little bit from? Tell me if I'm wrong. Is right here in your arm, on the inside of your arm. I feel like that's where you initiate the vibrato from. Am I right?
I think so.
I think so too. Can you get it in your fingertip? It's very hard, I know, but you can do it. Yeah, but just the burst. Try to just do the burst like we were doing. Good. Yes. Again. Now do the chord. Do the chord. So don't think about vibrating your third finger at all. Just vibrate your second finger. Can you find that little zing you had before? Talk to me about what you're hearing, because your ear has to be your teacher here, not me saying it's better. If I say it's better and you say I don't hear a difference, I don't care. It's not going to matter. I mean, you have to really hear it or want it, what I'm suggesting.
If I started in my forearm, the beginning of the note loses it loses the expression at the beginning because the vibrato comes in slower.
And do you notice that the shape of the vibrato is different? Maybe I'll finish up with this idea, but I feel like sometimes we look at vibrato and like here is the note, right? Here's the note. It's like a flat line. And a vibrato goes like this, whether some people say it goes up from the note or it goes below. I mean, forget, I don't even know the answer to that. I know people talk about it all the time. I know when it sounds in tune and where the center is. I can hear that. But the other thing is helpful to some, but not to me. But I feel like there's this what do you call it? This thing that we put on the note, right? It's not related to the flat line. It's what we do around it. How about if we think that a note with no vibrato where your left hand is relaxed and everything and it's ringing on your instrument is already vibrating, right? It's even though your finger isn't moving. So what's a vibrato? Exactly. So I would think of you using more of this idea of thinking that there's a natural vibrancy to the note itself, and if you could latch on to that and augment that, I think you're going to find, I think you're moving too much. I don't think you need to move too much. I'll just tell you, the violist in my first professional quartet that I was, my first career out of school, right out of school, was in a professional string quartet. And the violist in my, violist had only a finger vibrato, no wrist, no arm, And it was one of the richest viola vibratos I've heard. And I said, I cannot believe that, right? And then you see these other people going like this, and you actually hear very little vibrato, or what you might expect from that, right? So I think if you shift your attention, why am I putting such an importance on vibrato in this session with you, this very brief session we have? It's not just that I think the vibrato in the abstract is the only thing that I think you need to work on. It's that I think if you find this feeling in your hand, it's going to help the energy of your music making. It's going to help the intonation of your double stops, because it's going to change the feeling in your hand. I think it will change the relationship of the grippiness here, which tends to make us grip more with our left hand. And it raises our shoulders. I mean, just think about that. One thing, do you do any sports or anything like that? Or
Yeah.
what do you do?
I swim.
You swim. Oh my gosh, you should, yeah. And I'm really a big fan of the shoulder blades. And I've really done a lot of work with my students on locating them, getting them back, getting them stacked. And what my students realize, if you stack if you go like this and you stack you can go like this and like get that down, and you raise your arm, you can't raise your shoulder if your shoulder blades are stacked. Now, if you roll forward, then your shoulder can come up. It's quite remarkable. You can try that. And I think that would be something, but you also can't raise and hold the violin like this. So again, I would say that 60% of my students play with no shoulder rest on the back. 40% do. And I'm not like a proselytizer, but I do say you should experiment with it and find out why you don't want to do it. Because for hundreds of years, people played the violin fantastically without this. This was a phenomenon really of the 1970s. And it really came with the Suzuki program. And it came with, frankly, Dorothy DeLay at Juilliard, who believed in it more than Mr. Galamian did. Let's put it that way. And she thought, well, why not? It's great, And I do think it has its benefits, but I also think it has its drawbacks. And there's a very interesting video by Julia Bushkova and actually her nephew, Mark Bushkov, if you know him. And they're on the pros and cons of playing with and without shoulder rests. And I think it's just interesting for you to look at, because no matter what you decide, I think you might think about how to use what you're doing differently. And I think that that's the important thing, because we need to be free. We need to be free and dynamic, and the violin should be able to move, and you should be able to move around the violin, and you shouldn't be stuck in one position. Stasis is probably the hardest thing to overcome and creates tension and a lot of other things. Any question you have for me before, like anything I said that doesn't make sense, or I think I feel like I'm sending you into kind of a scary direction a little bit. I mean, like it's like an unknown.
No, I don't have any questions, but thank you very much. Yeah.
You're very welcome. It was a pleasure hearing you. Hello.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Well, it's nice to hear that. I was expecting you to play the Allemande from the D minor.
Sorry, what was that? I couldn't hear all of that.
Yeah, I thought you were going to be playing the Allemande from the D minor. That's what it had on the program.
Oh, no.
So no, this is great. This is great.
Oh, sorry to surprise you.
No, it's fine. It's terrific. And so, you've been working on this whole partita, have you?
No, just this movement.
Okay. Okay. Good. What can you tell me about a courant?
About what? Sorry.
A courant.
A courant. It's a dance. It's in 3/4. It's a little bit quicker. That's really all I know.
And it's usually paired with an allemande, which is the first movement. What's unusual about this whole partita? What's unusual about it?
The whole partita or the movement?
The partita.
I feel like with this one, this totally might not be the answer you're looking for, but I feel like with this partita, like, people choose it, and I actually fell into the same trap. Like, people choose it expecting it to be easier, but it's actually a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah, no, that's a very good answer. This is of the 6 pieces. I find this one the most enigmatic, hard for me to really understand I think this is different than almost anything Bach wrote. I can't think of a keyboard piece or anything that is even close to this kind of bizarro world. The way he uses registers, the way he skips between registers, also the form of having the doubles. So he has the main movement and then the double. And I always find it interesting when students come in, they're asked to do contrasting movements of Bach, and they do one movement of this and it's double. That's one movement. That's not 2 movements, right? It's one movement. And so there's 4 movements in this, even though there are 8 movements, if you know what I mean. So I think that knowing that it's an unusual form, it's in an unusual key, and I would say it's the hardest one to come up with good violin fingerings. They're just awkward choices all over the place. I almost feel like it shouldn't have been written for a violin. It should have been written for, I don't know, a harpsichord or something. I don't know. Maybe it would be hard on harpsichord too. I don't know. So having said that, too bad we're playing it, and we can make it work, and we can have a lot of fun with it. I've always loved my students who find this to be their favorite one. They're usually different kind of people, and I admire it because I'm like, yay you. I'm still struggling with it, and I struggled with it and spent a lot of time with it as a student, and so it's interesting to me, and I can continue to explore it. What I would suggest about this is, since it's a dance movement, and have you ever played with a Baroque bow before?
No.
It's something to experiment with. I know when I was in high school and they were trying to get us to sound more Baroque-y when we were like not very good yet, they told us to play at the tip, and they were just trying to get us to do something lighter, I think. But it's quite the opposite. Baroque playing is a lot down here. First of all, the bow is shorter, but you're playing lower in the bow. And that's why you see some Baroque players with their elbow very, because I really believe the elbow should be up most of the time, right? But you see them doing stuff, and that's because they're so low in the bow, they can kind of negotiate it. And I think it works okay for that, especially with the angle of their violin and everything. So I think that there's kind of a scurrying quality. Do you like the word scurry?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think there's a scurrying quality to this. If not, some of these movements of the B minor partita sound a little dry in conception. It seems like they're not really well written pieces, and they can sound it if you don't kind of capture the mood. And I think you have to do a better job than the other pieces that are more interesting. So, like, scurry up to the top. Can you try that? So what this really takes is kind of an easy, free motion with your forearm. Like easy. Make a big mistake. It's okay. Just go for it. Make a big mistake. That's the only kind of mistakes that there are such things as noble mistakes. Noble mistakes mean you went for something and it didn't work. But kind of not really trying and making a mistake, I don't know. That doesn't seem like a worthy mistake to me. Make them big. So why is it hard to move? Why is it hard to move up bows quickly? So it's for every violinist. Everybody does down bows quick, right? And then it takes forever to get up, and then it takes forever. And the problem with music on the violin is usually the down bows are the slower bow and the up bows are the quicker bow, but our physics want to make us do exactly the opposite. Why is it hard to move the up bow faster?
I feel like it's easier to I feel like just this is an easier motion in general than going back.
Why?
Maybe the resistance of the strings.
I think it's maybe not that. I think gravity.
Okay.
And look where your hand is right now. You're relaxed, and where was your hand? It was down at your side.
Right.
I don't think people like having their hand up like this. I mean, you brush your teeth, you eat. What else do you do with your hand? I guess you could go like this and put your hand, But generally, our hands are more comfortable, and the longer your arms, the more you want your hands away from that. So I think it's this comfort of getting my hand away. Maybe it's a biological thing, so we don't slap ourselves and hurt ourselves. I don't know. Like going back to when when we were, cavemen. I don't know. So the hard thing is to make this going against gravity easy. You want to try that? And so just let your hand easily travel. And follow through. Yeah, make that easy. Is that easy or is that tough? Try it again. Just do a few of them. Okay, you know where you harbor some of your tension? Do you know what your trapezius muscles are? That's the thing that holds your head to your shoulders. The thing that they always massage, for you, because that's where everybody holds so much tension. Your head's a heavy thing to hold up, especially when you got a big head like mine. But so, can you do this again and not use your trapezius muscles at all and just move your hand? You hear a difference in the tone?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's brighter and has more energy. Now, I think that's a big improvement. I'm sorry. I love these small victories in life. That to me is a big deal. Like you moved it, it almost looked effortless. And it was a lot more distance covered. So this is the kind of sound that I would suggest you go for in this movement in general. So more form. How would you describe what you're seeing? Can you see what how does my arm look when I'm doing it?
Tense?
Tense?
Or, sorry, I thought you were sorry, do it one more time.
I was trying to do it well. Did I look tense?
No, I thought you were trying to do it the way I was doing it. You did it perfect.
Can I just give you a little tip here? Don't try to second guess your teacher. It reminds me of Judge Judy when she says, don't try to guess where I'm going with this. Just answer the question. No.
Sorry, no. Yeah, that was my bad.
Look. I have no tension in my body at all.
Yeah, no tension.
As much yeah, that's what I meant to say. Yeah, try that. Can you try that?
Yeah.
Just from the bottom. I don't want you to start from the beginning, just from the bottom.
Okay.
So I'm just telling you what stops your motion. Like you go a little bit, and then this right up here goes stop. I have developed over this pandemic a clairvoyance that's really kind of weird. I can tell how people feel on the other side because that's all I've got. I can't really hear. So I have to use another sense. And I can just tell that you start, and this is what stops you. So your hand has to keep moving. Just start at the beginning now.
I think I'm holding too much tension here.
So you probably would agree with Ethan that that feels scary to play that way. A little bit, does it? Does it feel a little bit out of control?
Yeah.
I think this is the direction you need to go. And you need to deal with feeling a little bit out of control and learn to live with it. Now, can you just look at the bar lines in this? I hope you guys in the audience have your Bach music out, because it's probably kind of boring if you aren't following along. But do you see where he has full bar lines and where he has half bar lines? Have you ever noticed that?
Mm-mm. Yeah, I probably don't. Oh, that's so weird. Mine doesn't have that.
Yeah. Oh, yours doesn't have that.
No.
Shame on that edition.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, but it's not you. I'm not criticizing you. I'm criticizing the edition. Yeah, so even though we're going there, that's the weak beats. That means the next phrase. Is that the way you thought of it before? Even though the slur is important, it's kind of on a weaker beat.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
You want to try it? I've got to free you up today if it's the last thing I do with you. Do you see how much bow I'm using? Can you just do it once? Just that much bow, and relax your neck and just go for it. I love that sound so much better, and I'd like you to do it like 3 times as much as that, what you just did. Get to the frog. Bravo, that's a lot of improvement there. Tell me how that feels to move that way.
It feels freer.
Okay. Anything else?
Feels better.
Okay, cool. That's great. That's great. I'm glad it feels better. Now you just have to do it fast. You'd like to do. And the reason, why do we need more bow here? I mean, why do I think we need more bow here? The reason we need more bow is we need the sound to have energy in it, have kind of a release, and it needs to have follow through so the sound carries in the hall. And it doesn't, this is part of the thing about projection that people don't think about. It's what you do off the string that projects your sound more even than what you're doing on the string, because it's the follow through. It's like tennis. It's not the hitting of the ball, it's the wind up, the hit, and the follow through that determines what the ball does. Does that make sense? So if you think of your bow arm a little bit more like a tennis racket, you're playing tennis like this. Do you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so you need to get more of a swing in your tennis racket. Try it one more time. It's okay. It's okay. Just got to let go. What's your worry? I feel like you have a worry here. What is your worry?
Bow control. I don't have enough of it.
Okay, doesn't it feel good to say it out loud? I mean, yeah, just say it out loud. I don't feel like I have control. Now, you've said that. Don't be in control. Try not being in control and just let it go. See what happens. Keep going. Just keep playing for a while.
Oh, this is it.
Yeah, get on your music, right? You like anything about that? Is that feeling any better?
Yeah, I think the sound is better, but there's still other problems within it. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, look. Can I give you just a little bit of reassurance here? When you're working on a new technique or a new idea, it can compromise some other areas of your playing, like maybe your intonation takes a step back or something like that. That's to be expected. I wouldn't feel badly about that. I think you just kind of say, I understand this is going on. It's not my favorite thing that it's happening, but I'm getting this other thing. What often happens, can I just say what often happens to us is that our fears of something that matter to us, like playing out of tune. Oh my God, if I play out of tune, that's the worst thing in the world. That'll wreck other things. That focus will wreck other things.
right.
Or if you say, I feel like I don't have bow control here, so I'm going to do this so I don't lose control, that will affect your music making. That might affect other things. So it's kind of important to keep in mind that as you're making some changes to your playing, that you give yourself the grace, the kindness. I mean, are you as kind to yourself as you are to your friends?
No.
And does that seem right? Does that seem fair?
No.
No, it's not. So I think the whole thing, if we've learned another thing from these past 15 months, is to give a little bit more kindness and grace to other people. And I would include us in that. Can I just say, I would include us in that. I think you are going to find that you are a much more expressive and free player than you even know you are. I can already feel it. It's just like it's sort of like you have to get over this hump, this thing that is, maybe it's a negative voice in your head or something like that. Like, can you play above just your hand in the air, hold the bow? No, don't, with your other hand. Just take the bow out of your hand. And just move your hand in the air. Don't, just pretend like you're doing air violin. Play this piece. Bum, 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 bum. Can you get a little bit more energy in your arm?
Yeah.
From your elbow. How does that feel? Does that feel any better?
Yeah.
Can you put a bow in there and just play and have that just imitate that feel no matter what comes out of your fiddle? Yeah, I myself would pick one thing I would say about fingerings in this. You're up pretty high in positions.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and again, this is the most awkward piece. Did you pick this piece or did somebody assign it to you?
Okay. I'm gonna be honest. This is the first Bach I've really ever played.
Why didn't you tell me that at the beginning? Oh my God.
Yeah. So.
Oh, you're doing a fabulous job.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, this is not the first piece people do in Bach.
I wish I knew that because I would have picked something
Yeah.
else.
I'll just tell you a quick progression, and I'm not saying there can't be exceptions to the rule, but the two that most people start with are the D minor partita, the first four movements, not the chaconne, or the E major partita. Why? Because they're more straightforward, and you start from there, and they're hard, but you understand. I remember doing the Sarabande of the D minor was my first Bach piece, and I'm like, how do people play chords? I mean, do you drop fingers to? And the teacher said, play it. I'm like, what do you mean play it? I don't know how to play it. How do you roll a chord and then drop two? Do I drop one finger or two? Or, and it was a new language, right? And
Right.
so I think you're accomplishing a couple of very difficult things. My first Bach movement and one that is fingered in a most awkward way. So I can go up in position or I can stay lower, and then I have more string crossings, and it's the word gnarly comes to mind. Gnarly.
Yeah.
Gnarly. This is kind of a gnarly one. So you're doing a great job. I might suggest that you go back and do some of those more straightforward ones. So you get it's like a Bartok quartet. You don't start with certain Bartok quartets. There are smarter ones to start with, and ones that you should get comfortable with, and then do the next level. And usually the C major sonata and the Bach chaconne are the last two places that you go, just because of the size of the pieces and the kind of the complexity of mind and, you know, body. And then the D minor, I mean the B minor partita and the A minor sonata are kind of at that same level of thick, you know, I don't know, thickness, complicatedness
Uh-huh.
in different ways, but about that same level of thickness. So I do think that there's a logic to the ordering of how we learn pieces. I
Yeah.
don't think people should, you know, play the Brahms concerto when they're 15 years old, even if they can. That's not the point. I'd rather give them the Ernst concerto if they need, you know, get silly with your octaves, your fingered octaves, you know. It's because they're not musically mature enough to understand what it takes to really, it's not about playing the notes, it's so far beyond that, right?
Right.
Which is why these violinist composers are so great, because they give us all of this buffer to learn new stuff, play really cool sounding stuff, and if we mess up a little bit, they give us a cushion. There just isn't the
Right.
cushion that you get with the great masters, right? So, I think you did great. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, really. Can I just say it took a lot of courage too to play that as your first movement. It took courage, and I congratulate you on that.
Well, thanks.
Great. Well, thank you. And we have a little time left over. Thank you so much for all this great feedback. And let's move you around. So we can
Oh,
see
hey everybody. Oh, that's really cool. It's a beautiful hall too, by the way. I still have an unused plane ticket. I have credit on Delta to come out to see you guys. So
we gotta use it. So I was just thinking, like, I want to open up some questions for you guys, but I wonder if you could just briefly talk about. I don't remember when we worked on the A minor fugue together, and one thing that I never heard from any other teacher than from you is the concept of sort of choreographing the chords, and how much that influenced the way that I teach Bach, or anything for that matter, actually, the choreography aspect of it. And I know it's a huge subject, but maybe, I think with all the Bach we've heard today, I think it would be really, really helpful.
yeah,
Because that made a huge difference for me. Like, huge.
yeah. And the movements we heard today would probably be less candidates for this discussion than the fugues, where you have, you know, triple stops and quadruple stops and things like that. What I would say is that really a lot of playing the violin is physics. And when I think of physics, I think of the angle of the bridge and the bow arm in your body and how you use that. So a lot of times people, when they're learning, I'm not a big fan of learning the notes first. In fact, I read one of my colleagues was writing an article and they kind of said, well, of course, the first thing you do is learn the notes and then you do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, no. I don't think you learn the notes first. I think you learn the music, how it goes in your head, what you want to do. And I would say you learn the bow manifestation of the music, and then you plug in the notes, make them more in tune, and you fill that in. So in a Bach fugue, so I'm figuring out the bow. So the choreography is, but I have, and you probably hear a lot of people that break a lot of the double stops, right? They go, like, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? And it was very interesting to hear Vadim talking about the beat is always on the bass yesterday, except when he demonstrated, I heard it both in the bass and the top. I just thought it was very funny when he played. I'm like, yeah, I still hear it in the melody too. And what he was doing was he was being faithful to the bass and faithful to the tune. And that's the difficult thing about counterpoint. So I think the idea is that I'm getting a small an arc instead of a big arc. Instead of bigger like this. And I think what you're trying to do, another way of thinking about it sometimes, is pushing down the middle string to reveal the two strings on either side. But again, how does your hand have to feel so you don't get an ugly sound? This has to be totally like, jello, your fingers, and it sort of absorbs all of that shock. So I think this idea of choreography has to do with the way you're moving, how much you're moving, and being faithful to the fugue subject. Is that kind of what you wanted me to talk about?
Yeah, and also, I mean, I remember you like, I think that the big problem is always as we struggle with the fugues is the hackiness of it, right? And
Yes.
I've never, like, the way you described it, I remember, was, you know, balance from the bottom and your elbow, whereas, you know, which is such a revealing thing and something that a lot of people miss.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was, for me, that was a big game changer. And
Sounds like you need to
finding
teach
the line.
my method. You need to teach my method for me. That's really well put. So, yeah. So I absolutely think there's a weight factor that you need to get. And then when I'm sorry, I got my bows finally re-haired after 15 months. I have 14. They put on a ton of rosin, like I'm going to have another 14 months on my, you know, getting the rosin off, right? So I'm a little crunchy today. But I can do up bows and do them all at once and do them lightly. Another way of practicing that is kind of using collé, which is something I've really been into lately. And I don't really play it that way. It's just a practice technique to show how small it is. And I use very little bow. The other thing is that I think, Hassa, that I am dealing with is that we learned that when we play a triple stop, it means what kind of bow speed? I mean, just everybody just go to their gut thing. Lots of bow. And why is that? Because our youth symphony conductors hated what was coming out of our instruments. So they were just like, use more bow. We got to stop that ugly sound you're making in the first violin section, right? So more bow. And so what happens is this gets kind of connected to our DNA that we think that's actually a thing. It isn't. It's not 3 times faster. It's the same speed as a single note. It's deeper. It's not faster, it's deeper. But sometimes when we go deeper, we get ugliness because we have too much tension in our wrist, fingers. And so that really squelches the sound because the strings kind of, the strings don't absorb the weight. They resist and they fight back. So.
No, I think that's great. And I think that for me at least, it's so easy to just be too vertical, right? And I think that's the thing.
Yep.
So
Well, I mean, just look at the way the chords look on the page. Don't they look like they're going up and down like this, right? Wouldn't it be really cool if they had, I always say that the music system we have is really feeble. What we inherited as a way of expressing sound is just feeble. But it's what we have. And I imagine if we came up with a system now to document how a composer wanted music to sound, it would look very different than what we're looking at, like a computer program. And I would be very sad for another reason, because it would take some of our freedom away about how we want to hear it differently. It would be too precise in a way. I don't know, you get where I'm going with that? But what would happen if we had our chords laid at a diagonal instead of up and down like that? Would we think differently about it? You know, there was a study done on and it was reported on NPR. You know the languages that have gender associated with certain words, and in German it's different. It's the opposite than it is in, Italian. So the things that's feminine in German is masculine in Italian, and just sun and moon. And then they asked the people in those countries if they thought the attribute of that object was more feminine. Do you see where I'm going with this? We are like programmed to do certain things by thinking that way. And I think we as musicians need to be really pushing back, using a very current phrase. We need to push back against a lot of the things that we have been accepting as okay ways of doing things. So maybe you just think of all your chords going that way instead of this way. Would be enough for your brain to do it differently. I don't know. It's just a thought.
Yeah. Well, I want to, you guys ask some questions. So.
You had 2 hours to formulate a question.
Yes. Okay, you're gonna ask Nola's gonna ask the question.
So, what do you feel is an important skill that we should learn in addition to learning our instruments?
Get a better vocabulary. Get a richer vocabulary. I was talking to Miriam Fried about this one time, and we were just saying how how many fewer words we have to use with students today than maybe we used to use. Words fall out of favor. Shakespeare knows about it. They invent words, we lose words. I, with my studio, try to keep many words alive that aren't used much anymore because they're very descriptive. One recently, you guys might find this interesting. I was trying to get a string quartet of mine to use the word noble to get a certain kind of sound that I was after. And I asked them if that was a good choice for them. And the cellist in the group said, I have a little bit of a problem with that word. And she went on to tell me nobility, class, separation, you know, all of this. And I'm not poo-pooing that. I'm just saying that's an association that she had. But I said, what does the word mean? Like the positive meaning. It's what nobles should be wanting to do, not what they always do. Like the goodness. They don't have to do something good, but they do it anyway. There's a certain kind of dignity to what we're doing. So we had to come up with 5 words to describe what noble meant, encompassed. So, but we came up with 5 words, and I'm fine with not using that word if these other 5 work for us. So I think it's a little bit, you know, and Miriam Fried's sister is a linguist. I thought that was really interesting. But why is that important for us? Why do you think that's important for us to have a richer vocabulary with more specific words that mean specific things? Not like I feel good, I'm elated, I'm contented, you know, these.
Well, it's because like it does add more description, I guess. So I went to this master class where this person was describing food, but just to add more descriptors opposed to just sad, happy, like. There's so much that can describe happy that we can use in our music that could just help, I guess, add color, add just more of a emotion that other people may be like not aware of because we're using less words, using just those set in stone descriptors that everyone knows.
Yeah, it's sort of like slightly, you know, it's you know, I actually feel like emojis are more expressive than the words that we come up with.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's why we use emojis is because like I can't really describe, you know, flummoxed. You send an emoji with the eyeballs doing something, oh, they're flummoxed, you know, but if we had that word, that would be a really good word to use if we knew what it meant and we used it freely. It's, you know, because it's not really confused. It's, you know, that's what some people would say, but that's not really what I'm trying to say. So I think we need to be very precise in what we're feeling. I was trying to find here in the side, it's here somewhere in my music stack right next to my thing. Karen Tuttle's, she had this whole list of the 5 basic emotions and all the different words that are followed. So it wasn't just love. Are you passionate? Is it your first date? Are you nervous and excited? Is it love after 40 years of being together and you can rely on one? You know, there's just so many different kinds of love. You love your pet. You know, you love a sibling. There's so many different attributes of that. And if you can be clearer about what your feeling is, it doesn't have to be words. It could be, I want to play it like that day when we were in the park and just like hanging out with the sun with our, you know, with a piece of straw in our mouth and, you know, watching the clouds go by. And then you play the phrase in a quartet and all of a sudden it's like, wow, that was amazing, right? So it could be a memory. It could be a feeling. It could be a smell of apple pie from when you were a kid. And it will inspire you in a more creative, exciting way. I don't know if that's the answer you wanted, but that's really, I think our mind needs to be richer with descriptors.
No, I think it was perfect. It's exactly like, it's just a skill that people or us students may forget about because we're so focused on our instrument. So it's really whatever you felt like fit the.
Yeah.
That was perfect. That was awesome.
I think singing too. And I had a good soprano voice, and I have not a good adult voice. I want to take voice lessons. That's one thing. I was going to get one of the grad students at Maryland to teach me voice. You know, I probably will need padding in the room and make sure nobody hears me. But, you know, I think that's my next move. But just singing more to ourselves, because if we just imitate our voice, that's the quickest way to get to our voice. Playing the violin is not the quickest way to get to your voice. It's a very convoluted way to get to your voice, because we have to battle through a lot of things to get it to come out. But just go to the little kid, your 10-year-old self, and sing, and then try to copy that. That's a really good one. So anyway.
Thank you.
I just realized that soon we'll probably see composers use emojis in their compositions instead of con amore or we'll just have musical emojis.
So the word that came up at yesterday's class that wasn't spoken that I wanted to say was komodo. That wonderful, at your comfort, at your leisure, at your, it's. I don't know what an emoji would look like that would do that, but we can work on it. I'm all in on trying to improve the way we communicate.
Let's not tell the composers though. Oh, there's one here. So, shoot.
Totally in.
Yeah. I think I don't want to impose any time, but if there's one last quick question, I think we can fit it in.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, Sarah, come up here.
Yeah, I just have a quick, silly question. What's the first piece of music that you fell in love with, that you just had to play?
I don't remember the answer to that, but what I'll tell you is something that I think is maybe more important than that question, which was which violin playing was the violin playing that made me want to be a violinist? Can I answer that one?
Sure.
That was the young Jamie Laredo, who had just won the Queen Elizabeth of Belgium competition. And you can find this on YouTube. I hope the sound is good off their LP that they copied. But it's right after he won the prize. And anybody, if you know, Queen Elizabeth of Belgium has been the gold standard for picking the best violinists that have careers. Other competitions have picked really good violinists, but for some reason their careers don't necessarily pan out. At the Queen Elizabeth of Belgium competition, there are 12 finalists. And out of those 12 finalists, usually 8 or 10 of them have major careers. Not just the first prize, but the 7th prize. And go back and look at the list of winners back and you'll see this. So he got first prize. He had just finished his time at Curtis. He was at that what do you call it? That moment in life where youth, instinct, training, and everything come together in something beautiful. So that album, which is a bunch of short pieces, not a concerto, and I remember listening to that, and I had heard Oistrakh, and I love Oistrakh. I love all of these people, Schering, Heifetz, all of these people. But when I heard Jamie Laredo's sound, I said, I want to do that. Now, what was that? Why that? Because the others play great, and I love their playing today. It was something that reached so deeply inside of me. It resonated with who I was as a musician. The other ones, like Heifetz, I admire, but I can't be that. I don't want to be that even. But I wanted to be more like that sound. That sound spoke to me. And frankly, it made me a chamber musician. And I am a chamber musician. That's my aesthetic. That's what I love. That's what I'm good at. I'm a string quartet player. I know my strengths as a violinist. I know my weaknesses as a violinist, right? And his playing had the most natural, supple evolution and delicacy and nuance, and I don't think he was thinking about it. I think it just was, and that makes it even more beautiful. Like, it wasn't planned out, it wasn't educated in, it just seemed very fresh and very authentic. It really struck me. The concertos I was super excited about as a kid was the Tchaikovsky Concerto, first movement. I listened to Schering recording every night for 3 months, and unfortunately, it did an indelible thing in my brain, and I've had a trouble with that concerto teaching it since, because his sound is, I studied with Schering a little bit, and that sound is just in my ear, and it's sort of like, I want to hear it another way, but it was almost like imprinting, and probably wasn't a good idea, but I loved it so much, I couldn't resist. It's like I had to keep going back. I had to go back, yeah. So.
Well, thank you so much.
I think you deserve a big hand. I think what you did this week is fantastic. And I'm so proud of what you're doing.
So we did this with both Phil and Vadim. We had a picture of you, a flat you on the screen with the people that played. Yeah, are you okay with doing that? So we'll have people that come up, stand next to the monitor that we see you on, and then take a picture.
Sure. Is this like a virtual selfie?
I guess it's kind of a virtual selfie with a Zoom component, I guess.
I pinned it so
okay.
the people talking.
So we don't. Okay.
You
so
need to tell me if I need to move or I need to do anything or I need to look up or, you know.
Once you get everybody up, we'll. So. Yeah,
But
you
Ethan
can't,
has.
you can't actually see this because the camera is
Okay, but you must make Ethan smile. If Ethan doesn't smile, I'm not going to do it.
I saw one smile there for a second. Yeah, you can.
Should we
I
do
think-
two on each side?
Yeah.
Yeah, two
I'll
on each side is good.
stand here.
Yeah. Yay! This looks amazing. Okay, so say fromage.
Fromage.
Okay, I'll do one more. This is great. And Ethan was smiling.
I was.
You'll see it when I send you the photo. So, but thank you so much. And
I just wanted to say, my colleague Renata is going to be with you, and I haven't seen her for years, but I work with her husband during the summer, and we were at CIM together, and she's going to have a great class for you. So I hope to tune into that too.
yeah, we'll look forward to it. Thank you so much again. Thank you. And I'll send you some pictures and be in touch.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Take care,
Thank you.
all. Have fun.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, great.